Hey folks, Valentin the Mad here, and today we'll be looking at the response mechanics in Blood Trail. As many of you know, I recently got a headset, and I suppose the best way to get started is with what's gotta be the most brutal VR game currently out there. And yeah, I can say straight up, it is seriously good, and in this video, we'll get into the why. I should note that this is the experimental, unfinished update, so it is very much possible that some things I'll be discussing are already planned, and I will be covering any notable enhancements as they come. Now, let's get right to it. As for dismemberment, the heads can come off, or be destroyed. Arms have 2 points of amputation. The legs have 1. And characters can be torn in half. Other than the stretching issue, the looks are nice, the activation is good, and the feedback will be solid. Now the fun bit is the non-dismembering damage. You have a hole at the point of impact and blood around it. The blood feature is quite cool. It will be running down, you can have blood splash on other parts of the body as well. And, very importantly, not all hits are gonna be equally bloody, even when using the same weapon. One hit may mainly leave a hole, another will give you a standard bleeding for that weapon, but if you hit a major blood vessel, the result will be quite messy. And when blowing a hole open in a character, you will have nice splatter around it, and it will splash on other parts of the body as well. As for a few points of feedback, I think some thin blood streaks would have looked quite good here, particularly for hits in the head. And you probably can have the amount of blood on each hit vary a little more. Right now it does feel like the options you have are very little blood, a standard amount, and massive bleeding. I think it could vary a little more between the latter two. Now, as I mentioned, you can blow holes open in characters. If you have a bunch of damage done in the same area, you'll see a large chunk get torn off. You can do that anywhere on the body, head very much included. Now, I was wondering if it is dynamic multilayer damage or variations. For the very least, on the hand, the fingerless sting is very clearly a variation. And so is the head. I've seen the nose job, and the jawless ones repeatedly. On the rest of the body, it wasn't quite as clear. I've had some testing that looked quite dynamic, and some that looked very much like variations. It is some form of the latter, but that doesn't hugely matter. The looks are good, the activation is appropriate, they blend in well with each other, and the feedback will be quite gnarly. Unless you test a little too much and you get this. Won't be happening in regular combat, so not really an issue. Where you do have multi-layer for sure is the claws. The claws are a layer and they will have holes directly at the point of impact. I should note, you often have characters bleed from the nose, mouth or both after getting shot in the center mass, which is a very cool touch that for some reason I haven't seen in any other game. As for explosives, the response will be activation of Dismemberment and the holes on the characters, along with a burned overlay and holes in the claws, so good stuff. As for melee, this is where the experimental build part probably comes in. The response you have is for knife stabbing and that is used for all pointy things. Impalement too. But I do like the core functionality. It is very much possible that in campaign mode or raid, you will have some spiky hazards here and there that will really ruin someone's day if they ragdoll into them. And here is the response for the hammer. Now I did try activating the holes using other means several times, but that didn't work. And lastly, in the body damage aspect, we have the falling. The response I saw was the blunt impacts, blue mark injury, and the mouth and nosebleed. I tried a whole bunch and haven't seen anything juicier than those. As you can imagine, this video is demonetized, probably gonna be deranked in one way or the other, so if you are enjoying it, do share it where that would be appropriate. Discord, Reddit, your family WhatsApp group, and consider supporting as well, either on Patreon or here as a channel member. You get videos like this one a week early, there is the voter tier, many video votes to come, or if you wanna get something physical directly from me, check out the art store. My mom is the artist and I'm handling the fulfillment. From cute animal mugs to classy and just cool art. Check it out, maybe you'll find something you like. Links are in the description and the pinned comment. Now to the blood spilling. You will have stains on impact. You have them run down when appropriate. On nastier hits there will be chunks of meat as well. And you have this cool stain for explosions. The artery hits will mess up the environment as well. In some cases, it can activate an RDR2X sequence, which just looks awesome. And when the character is finished, you have nice looking blood pools. Special ones for soaps too. Now to the feedback. In the case of the heavy bleeding, it does look like you'll often have too little blood for that particle effect. And kind of like what I mentioned with the body damage, the bleeding could have more variety. Right now we have either the very heavy bleeding or this. I think there very much is room to expand this aspect. Some form of visual bleeding for injured characters who are running around, better bleeding for injured characters who are down, and perhaps a variation of heavy bleeding that isn't this water tap tier heavy and that could last somewhat longer. And as for the aftermath, the bodies are configurable, the amount of bleeding wounds, I think that's what the config means, is 2, but the maximum value for decals of 99 seconds is a little low. I would argue for an option of tying the blood to each character. For the maximum effect you gotta have both, the character and the blood that he spilled. That way you could see the full results for as many characters as your PC can handle. Either that or just allowing the decals config to go beyond the 99 seconds cap. As for the animations, visual feature-wise you'll be seeing responses on impact. There is an injured state while the character is still up. You have an active ragdoll disabled state with the character being in pain on the ground. You have characters reacting to their bodies getting shot. And while I don't have clear footage of it, I think I may have seen enemies stumble and fall from ragdolls, and not only during the bleed out sequence. It is however entirely possible that they just shot themselves and downed enemies happen to be around. Yes, enemies do occasionally shoot themselves, or shoot their mates and blame you.
Why did you do this? Why?
That is the visual stuff, and the system behind it is seriously cool. Rather than going for just the usual health points, it takes more factors into account like bleeding, organ damage, and pain tolerance. The results you'll be getting are absolutely exceptional. Characters can survive really nasty mutilation. The kind of stuff that in most games would be an insta-ragdoll, and yeah, it includes dismemberment, getting holes blown open, and that looks seriously brutal. It very much includes surviving face shots if the critical bits are untouched. This also won't be uncommon. Okay, a bit of a post-up addition, but it may include getting blown in half as well. It could be a glitch because you can still kill the character by shooting the legs. And I have seen the legs move autonomously as well. But yeah, that realistically could happen and it looks very nasty. In gameplay, it will result in a very exceptional response. Unless a critical area was shot, the response will be just them going down, but still very much surviving. Now to an issue and a point of feedback. As long as the character is at all alive, he'll always have a hold of the weapon, even if he has no more fingers. And I think it could use more variety of disabled state animations, including an option of enemies shooting at you from the down state. It shouldn't be very common, but it would be nice having a chance of that happening. In conclusion, this one goes into the Gore Hall of Fame for sure. Absolutely exceptional stuff with attention to detail in every aspect. I'm very impressed. There is room for improvement, particularly in the blood spitting aspect, there always is, but even if the 1.0 version will be entirely unchanged beyond the melee damage issues, you'll still have a very responsive, very brutal experience. That is it for this one. Do let me know how you feel in the comment section, and subscribe for more content coming your way soon. Until next time.